Welcome back to Wake Up America Weekend. We continue to track the fallout of Israel's military response to Iran. The White House is reportedly denying that they gave Israel the go-ahead to strike Iran's nuclear facilities in the Isfahan province. But Israeli media says they gave the United States officials notice.
Iranian officials, as well as the International Atomic Energy Agency, say that the impact of Israel's retaliation was limited and the nuclear sites were safe and undamaged. This, of course, was Israel's response to Iran's retaliatory strike, which saw over 300 missiles and drones launched against Israel, 99% of which were shot down. Joining us now to weigh in, former Ambassador, Consul General of Israel, Ido Aharoni. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Mr. Aharoni, both Iran and Israel's strikes have been very limited in the damage they cause, but are these two countries trying to de-escalate and avoid a full-scale war?
Yeah, I think no one is interested in having a full-scale war because you know how it begins, you never know how it ends. What you're seeing here now is diplomacy at play. The Iranians are denying that they were hit because deniability allows them not to respond. The United States is denying knowing anything about it because it protects them from possible retaliation against American targets. And Israel is keeping quiet for the most part. You know, it's a coalition government. You can't really control all of them. But for the same reason, deniability is a big part of diplomacy.
That's an excellent point. And let me ask you this. There's been a lot of dissension against the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, since the war broke out, even before, but certainly since the war broke out. And there's been opposition that's been growing against him as this war really prolongs. So do you see these strikes against Iran as helping him politically by rallying Israelis against the common enemy? Or, you know, do increased war fronts work against him and hurt his standing as the prime minister?
Well, I think that the Israelis are not demonstrating in big masses right now because most of us are still under shock of October 7th. Israel still lives October 7th while the world has moved on. Clearly, that's one of the reasons for the frustration of Israelis with the world's reaction to 10/7, how the perpetrator became a hero, how students in America are marching in favor of a deadly organization, essentially no different than Al-Qaeda, right? So that's one of the reasons. So I think that the Israelis are, before they will allow political agenda to dictate their behavior, I think they're still looking for the end of this military phase. And certainly the inflammation with Iran is part of what we're experiencing since October 7th. It's important for our viewers to know October 7th is very much like 9/11 in terms of the motivation behind it. And it's Iran behind the whole thing.
Yeah,
yes,
that's a very good point.
It is. I want to move over to what's going on in Gaza. The White House gave Israel the green light to conduct more operations in Rafah. At least 10 people were killed in the strikes overnight and over a dozen more injured. Civilians are beginning to move to an evacuation zone near Khan Yunis. How is the IDF handling civilian safety?
Well, the reality in today's high level of exposure, the resolution is high, unprecedented fashion of resolution when you're operating militarily in highly dense area with civilians. Happened to the Americans in Iraq and Afghanistan. It's happening to the Israelis in Lebanon. It happened to the Israelis now in Gaza. And so I know, you know, from my own knowledge that the IDF is doing its utmost, but let us not forget, there is no other solution to take out Hamas military capacity without inflicting harm. There is no other solution. As horrible as it sounds, war is ugly. You try to minimize collateral damage to the extent you can, but sometimes mistakes happen, tragedies happen, but that doesn't mean that Israel should stop from its efforts to uproot the evil represented by Hamas. Evil. Hamas is an evil organization.
And I just want to add one thing. Let's not forget Hamas is known among all the terror groups specifically for using civilians as human shields and hiding behind civilians, whether it's hospitals, schools, it doesn't matter. So they play by no rules and they have no regard for human life whatsoever. And that makes it exponentially more difficult. But Ido Aharoni, thank you so very much. Really appreciate you joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.